This next question's from Facebook. It's from Nano for everyone. How has the mise-en-scene of dread in the horror genre evolved? It sometimes seems very codified. What are your opinions? That's a big one.
I'll leave to the film studies professor.
All right. Well, in terms of its evolution and where it is right now, I think the most interesting horror films are those that are actually commenting on the codification of horror cinema. So films like The Cabin in the Woods, You're Next, It Follows. These are movies that are pointing out just how kind of played out some of the conventions of horror films have become, and in the process are creating, new kinds of like more postmodern representations within the horror genre. So that really goes back to something like the Blair Witch Project in the 1990s. But even something like Paranormal Activity, I think in its use of, personal digital cameras and this kind of low budget surveillance aesthetic, that's a new kind of production design that we've seen within horror film too, rather recently.
Not to offend Alison, mise-en-scene is an academic term. You say that out in production and most of the people will have no idea what you're talking about. So get out production, unless they went to film school and then they go, oh yeah, I remember that part. So don't use it out in production, just as an idea. But to study films and things like that, it's wonderful. But when you step on that other side, you walk out those doors and you're working. If you start saying those things, they're gonna kind of think you're academic elitist, so.
Instead, you would call it art direction or production design.
Production value. Production value is really important. That's a key thing. Okay, I want to really get a lot of production value out of this. That's a key phrase to remember.
And read the room before you go.
Yeah, yeah. And just to kind of go, because I did my undergrad as film studies, and then I did my grad studies as an MFA in screenwriting. So I think I like to come at things from both sort of standpoints. I feel like I exist in this like nice sort of middle ground. Professor Parrish is absolutely right. When you're talking about things on set, you kind of want to avoid sort of overly academic terms. But if you're hanging out together out of the way or something like that, and you have that academic approach, I think is generally okay. But as long as you're not like really approaching it, it's like, oh, the mise-en-scène is really off in this, blah, 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 then you don't want to do that. But for me as a screenwriter, like that film studies background has really helped me immensely to think about the way that I approach my films, and especially if I'm working like in a genre or like horror. I have written a horror film, or science fiction, or thrillers, or crime films, and things like that. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, I think, sometimes when you think about sort of film studies in that respect when it comes to sort of production. So yeah, that's just my particular approach.
Yeah, I totally agree. But it helps you develop your story. It helps develop your film. That's all kind of internal. When you get out there to, the men and women that are sweating and setting the lights and, figuring out how they're going to get first in line for lunch, it's not what you talk about. Because you're going to talk about things like that and the ideas of it to your director, if you're the director, to the script writers, or you're talking to the cast and things like that. But we're getting off point here.
A Quiet Place was great. You should go see it.
I haven't seen that yet.
You should go see it. It's great.
Shot on film stock.
Yeah.
Ooh.